came across this very interesting story about a man called Kimball. Apparently he was a Sunday school teacher who just wanted to serve God. He would show up to church every Sunday and serve faithfully in teaching the little children about Jesus Christ. He was a Sunday school teacher who had a great passion, who wanted to do more than just doing it on Sundays. So during the weekdays, he would actually follow through with all the children who came to his class on Sunday to make sure that they understood who Jesus was, and to help them understand a better relationship with Him. And there was one kid in his class who came from a very rough background and couldn't understand who God was. So Kimball would take the extra step in going and visiting this kid in his place of work. And back in those days, the kids were working as laborers. He would visit him at his shoe store where he worked and would tell them about Jesus, and would keep persuading him about what an amazing plan that Jesus had for his life. And finally, in the back of the store, this little young kid accepts Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. And his name was D.L. Moody, an amazing man of God. And because someone called Richard Kimball decided he was going to pursue him. But here's the interesting thing. The story doesn't end there. The story actually begins there. Because D.L. Moody received this incredible salvation experience and says, I got to do something about it, quits his job, and begins preaching the gospel. And God uses D.L. Moody to go throughout the whole world. And when D.L. Moody was traveling in the United States, there was a man called Wilbur Chaplin, who hears the message of D.L. Moody in one of the evangelistic crusades and responds to the message and says, I gotta do something for Jesus. And Wilbur Chaplin then begins to preach the gospel himself. And while Wilbur Chaplin is preaching the gospel, a baseball player who was well known in America listens to the message of Wilbur Chaplin. At the end of his crusade, he comes up and gives up his life to Jesus. And his name was Billy Sunday. And Billy Sunday, right after he receives Jesus, quits his career at baseball and says, I'm going to devote the rest of my life in serving Jesus Christ. So he begins to do crusades just like Wilbur Chaplin does. And as Billy Sunday begins preaching the gospel, a man called Mordecai Ham, who is a very astute gentleman, who is very refined, who is seated in his crusade, hears the message of Jesus Christ, stands up and gives his life for Jesus Christ. And this guy, Mordecai Ham, goes to a little town called Charlotte in North Carolina, and he's preaching the gospel in the 10th crusade meeting. And there's a bunch of kids who are standing outside, and they were saying, we got to go in there, and we're going to cause trouble tonight in that meeting. And in that bunch of friends, there was one kid who didn't want to cause trouble, but he just wanted to see what would happen when they caused trouble. So he walked into that tent meeting to come and see what would happen when his friends would cause trouble. But as he sat there in that tent meeting, hearing Mordecai Ham preach the gospel, something within him resonated. And he said, I got to respond to this. So he went the next night, and then next night when he heard the gospel, he went up to the altar and gave his life to Jesus Christ. His name was Billy Graham. And Billy Graham, hold on, I'm not done yet. Billy Graham, till date, it has been estimated that through the ministry of Billy Graham, 2.2 billion people have heard the gospel of Jesus Christ through the ministry of Billy Graham. It all began in a chain of series with a man called Kimball, a Sunday school teacher. Of all people, who said, I'm going to be devoted with the gifting that God has placed in my life. I'm going to do it every Sunday sincerely. I'm going to go out of my way and I'm going to tell these kids about Jesus. And what he started ended up reaching 2.2 billion people and more, because we're not taking into account all the other people who got saved through all the other evangelists who were saved in the process as well. Never underestimate what God can do through a simple act of service that you do for His kingdom. You need to recognize that what God has given, whether you think it's significant or not, in God's eyes, is absolutely significant.